Hey, welcome back. This is BookSquirrel, and this is another BookSquirrel book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Neal Stephenson's Snow Crash. I literally just finished reading this book this morning, and I have a lot of thoughts that I want to give about it. I'm really hoping that I don't piss off too many people or say something that might get YouTube to come after me. This is the second book of 20 top-ranked sci-fi books on my TBR list that I tier listed in another video prior to reading them. So if you wanted to check that out, I'll put a link in the description. But just like my last review that I did, I'm going to be using my non-patented ACORN system. And each one of those letters stands for a potential 2 acorns for a potential total of 10 acorns. And maybe I should change that to 100 because that sounds exciting. And then at the end of the video, I will spin the wheel to find out what my next book is that I'm going to be reading. That'll become the next review. All right, so let's get to it. A little bit about the book. The book that I read was a revised version. That was published August 26, 2003. But the book was originally published in June of 1992. The book is about 480 pages long in print. And now let's get to the blurb. All right, now this is the blurb that's in Kindle because that is where I read it. Hero lives in a Los Angeles where franchises line the freeway as far as the eye can see. The only relief from the sea of logos is within the autonomous city-states, where law-abiding citizens don't dare leave their mansions. Hero delivers pizza to the mansions for a living, defending his pies from marauders when necessary with a matched set of samurai swords. His home is a shared 20 by 30 use storage. He spends most of his time goggled into the metaverse, where his avatar is legendary. But in the club known as the Black Sun, his fellow hackers are being felled by a weird new drug called Snow Crash that reduces them to nothing more than a jittering cloud of bad digital karma, and in real life, a vegetative state. Investigating the infocalypse. I don't know how to... Investigating the infocalypse leads Hero all the way back to the beginning of language itself, with roots in an ancient Sumerian priesthood. He'll be joined by YT, a fearless teenage skateboard courier. Together, they must race to stop a shadowy virtual villain hell-bent on world domination. Approach. Okay, so first I'm going to go over the approach that I had, the experience that I had leading up to the reading of the book and the first few chapters. So having looked at the cover, having read the blurb, honestly, when I first got this book, I was very excited. I really enjoy what the promise is in this blurb and in the book cover. It was the only cover of the 20 that I had that had pink in it. And to me, it's just very exciting. You're going to get something digital. You're going to get something fun. I didn't understand the symbols on it of the wings and the person, but it didn't really matter because I felt like I was going to get the information about it anyways. And I did enjoy this cover. The blurb was exciting to me. Obviously, there's a lot of different ideas here, a lot of creativity here. I felt like this is going to be a book that has a lot of interesting ideas, maybe doesn't take itself too seriously. I was really excited. This version of the book that I have does have a foreword from Neal Stephenson, and I only bring it up because there was literally a plot spoiler in the foreword. He said what it was, and he even gave the page number of where it happens. And I instantly was annoyed. I was still really excited for the book, but I was like, where's the judgment call on this? Why would you do that? It bugged me. So heads up, if you're going to pick up this book and you don't know what's going on, don't read the foreword first. Just don't. And then I got into the book and I read the first many chapters. I really liked the chapters I was reading. I liked the flavor. I liked the creativity. You have this idea of the future that's really rooted in 80s technology. And 80s retrofuturism is just really fun to me. It's colorful, it's neon lights. It's like the Wild West of capitalism in a way, with like a lot of tubes and a lot of grease and grunge to it also. And the beginning of this book really does deliver on that. So my approach, which would have been a 2, but because of the foreword, my final approach score is 1.8 acorns. Characters. I was thinking of actually changing the C to something else like context or content, but I'm liking sticking with characters. I have a degree in psychology. To me, character development is incredibly important. And when it came to the characters in Snow Crash, I'm of two minds. The mind that's not really winning the battle right now is the intrigue of the characters. They're colorful, they're fun, they're lively. You have Hero, the guy with the swords. You have YT, the courier, who uses a really cool futuristic skateboard to get around. It feels like all of these people have some kind of technical skill in one way or the other that makes them interesting. However, the characters are very problematic. Every character is some stereotype. So if they're a woman, they're going to be like this. If they're Japanese, they're going to be like this. If they're gay, they're going to be like this. I do understand that tropes have an importance because they carry a lot of information with them very easily and simply. But I think it's an author's responsibility to be careful about the negative stereotypes that you put into your books. To me, it's important that if negative stereotypes are going to be in a book, they should be there as a conversation. And yet that's never the case in Snow Crash. Every single female character in this book is treated like trash. And even though one of the main characters is female, the story happens to her. 99% of the characters that are making things happen in the book are male characters doing things, and women characters are just experiencing things. I don't care that this was published in the early 90s. This is sci-fi. We get to determine what this future is. In the future that Neal Stephenson saw in this book, it's almost like he leaned in gratuitously to perpetuating these harmful stereotypes. The representations of people in this book bug the crap out of me. I give characters 0.4 acorns. BookSquirrel from the future here. In editing this video, I realized that I was really in my feels. And I was rating things a lot lower than I maybe should have. I don't know. I still stay true to the experience that I had with this book. However, I am redoing my originality segment. When I first finished this book, I just wanted to slash the points left and right. When I had started the book, I had wanted to give points left and right. And so it was just this annoying change that happened to me. And so when I wanted to slash all the points, one of them that I chose was originality. In retrospect, I do believe that Neal Stephenson's Snow Crash deserves a lot in originality. He did popularize the term avatar. The concept of the metaverse was so new at the time. When this book was originally written, there wasn't the level of technological advancement that there is now. And plus, in retrospect, there were so many ideas that I really liked. I loved how much detail he put in to the pizza delivery truck. And the pizza delivery truck is at the very beginning. And one of the things that is frustrating me about this book is that we really don't get the pizza delivery truck beyond that. There were so many ideas, and there were so many. It was like he was throwing anything he could at the wall. It can be a little overwhelming at times, but I can't overlook how much originality Neal Stephenson puts into this book. Having said that, whoa. The only other critique I really think I want to give here is I wish that instead of just going so wide with different ideas, I wish that there were more ideas that were extrapolated on vertically. So in the end, for originality, I will give it a 1.8. I think a 1.8 is very reasonable. Readability. I actually think this is a pretty easy to read book. The sentences aren't that difficult. I found the word choice to be fairly simple to understand, which I like because it means that I'm not going to be dissociating as much through the book. There were countless names in this book. There were countless details in this book. That did challenge my reading at times. There were plenty of crazy info dumps. Literally chapters upon chapters, one person talking 95% of the time. And info dumping. That was the biggest challenge for me. There were times where in a room of people, there would be dialogue without tags, back and forth, but I would lose track of who was talking. And then literally in order to figure out who was talking, I would have to go back like a page sometimes to find the most recent tag and then follow back and forth to that line. That did impede some of the readability of this book too. So overall, I feel like this book is very engaging in its reading. I would give readability a 1.4. All right, and narration. I will say it this way. The first 40% of this book, I was obsessed. I was getting this retro futuristic vibe that I was just eating up with the spoon. I lived for this concept of pizza delivery ninja. I was obsessed with that. Pizza delivery ninja could be its own book and I would die. Okay, I would love that. For the first 45% of this book, not only did I love what was being built, it felt fun, it felt interesting, a little bit problematic still, but not fully problematic as it would eventually become in my eyes. And I just thought that this was such a fun read. And then the rest of the book felt so gratuitous. It was inconsistent. The motivations were inconsistent. The timeline was inconsistent. People started teleporting. He starts doing lazy things that almost every editor online is going to tell you not to do. Don't do the huge info dumps. He does it not only in those 3.5 chapters, he does it again with 2 other chapters later in the book. Don't name people that are irrelevant. He names everybody, and most of them are irrelevant. Don't break the fourth wall. He literally says things like, and then the rest was just a chase scene. Where's that chapter? At one point he literally says, no point in describing the office. And everything is deus ex machina. This is a book of convenience. There are things that are bad that happens, but it's for convenience to make the hero look amazing, to pull off that really cool stunt, to create that scene that just sounds visually intriguing and would probably look good on a video. I mean, there's literally a snuff cartoon. See, I'm really passionate. So I give the narration a score that matches how much of it I actually enjoyed. So I gave it a 0.4. BookSquirrel from the future, back to make 2 corrections. 1, I'm actually going to give narration a 0.8 because technically that's 40% of 2, which means that the final total for Snow Crash by Neal Stephenson, I give 6.2 acorns, or 62 acorns out of 100. In summary, I was so disappointed with this book, and part of that is on me for getting my hopes up. But my goodness, the hype of this book told me that this thing was going to be the next masterpiece. I would say if you cut out all those problematic aspects, which are flooded throughout the second half of the book, I understand why people like this book. I understand why people see something fun in this book and enjoy the experience. I don't know. I think the world looks at books very seriously. Books are considered to be incredibly legitimate ways of passing along information. And so for me, I think that books have a responsibility. And I didn't see anywhere in the foreword or the acknowledgement of the author talking about the treatment of the characters that he gave, of the representations, how he just pulled up a stereotype. And why? Just so that because he thought it was fun? I think that we have a responsibility to do better. I mean, I would have DNF'd this if I hadn't loved the first 45%. That got me through the rest of the book. And yet, the more that it went on and the more that it piled on itself with all of the shortcuts, with all of the bad tropes, buy it. Buy the book. Read the book. Make your own decision, please. And I wanted to like this book so much. Okay. Time to move on. And now it's time for the wheel to find out what I'm going to be reading next. I have 18 books left on the TBR for the top-ranked sci-fi books. And here we go. I'm just hoping that I get something short. I want something short. I want to have 3 finished books by the end of the month. What? Well, okay, I guess I'd go from Snow Crash to Crash by J.G. Ballard. I don't really know how much sci-fi is actually in this book, but it was one of the top 3 on a sci-fi list, and so we're going with it. And that'll be the next review. See you then. Bye-bye for now.